Hey guys, welcome back to my backtesting series. If you're a new viewer, please make sure you go back and watch the previous videos. And if you're a returning viewer, please make sure you go back and watch the previous videos as well. Because it takes more than, one watch of a video to fully grasp a concept. So yeah, if these videos have been any help to you, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. But without wasting any time, let's get into the actual backtesting. Okay, we're back where we left off last week. I think I ended on a Thursday. Let me check. Yeah, it should be a Thursday because I don't trade Fridays. So go to next day. What day is this? Friday. Go to Monday. Okay, cool. Like always, we start from the daily. And what's the daily time frame telling us? Wait, hold on. Let me just remove all my drawings. Oof. Daily's not really telling us a lot. But I do think we should be bearish on this day. Price swept the previous day's high and failed to close above it. So we should be bearish on this Monday. What day is it? 16th. Okay, cool. So now all we have to do is analyze really. Daily's bearish. H4 doesn't really tell us anything. Not really. Other than the fact we swept this, H4 high. There's really nothing extra. But this could be used as a key POI for reversal to the downside, so I do have that in mind. Let's drop down to the hourly, see if we can find something better. Okay, the hourly has a bit more for us. I'm seeing a couple of fair value gaps that we could potentially look for price to push up into and then find our sell in this area and push down. But in terms of price action in itself, I'm not really seeing anything major. But yeah, this is like my main idea right now. Something like this. But please remember, like I say, be fluid in your thinking always. Just because, you have an idea of what the market is going to do doesn't mean the market is going to listen to your idea. So I'm also considering this as a possibility. Price breaking through, taking one more sweep, coming down. Or price just dumping down from where it is. Those are all the possibilities I'm really considering as of right now. M15, I don't really see anything much more on the H1. Yeah, I don't really see anything major. So I'll just be looking for price to push into this area before I look for sells. If, let's just say this fair value gap didn't exist, the POI I'll be looking for price to like push into before we see our drop, because we're bearish on the day, would have been Asian's high. But Asian's high, it swept the 4-hour high. The chances of price coming back into that high before we see a drop is low, but not impossible. So, let's wait and see what it actually does. Play it forward. I'm going to remove these lines actually. I don't want to cause confusion. Any news? Governor Bailey's talking, but that's really nothing major. Okay. Not really seeing anything too major. On the M15 at least. If you're really, really interested, in this area or this POI, this would be a valid buy right here. Off this order block into this POI, which you can really stretch it for a 1 to 3, maybe draw your fib levels and get better entry, but I have no interest in taking this. I just want to go with the daily buys for this one because it's so compelling. But yeah, let's see what happens. If I can find a sell, I'll be more than happy to take it. Actually, it looks like this order block is setting up now, but we haven't seen our breakout structure of this low. So if I see that, maybe I'll be interested. Okay, we've seen the break. So right now, we've got the liquidity sweep. So LQ of this high. Seen the break of structure, or chalk, whatever you want to call it, of this low. We see the fair value gap right here. That's the FVG. So that's what, 3 already. There is no fair value gap right above our stop loss directly, but there is this big H1 fair value gap. So let's just say this trade loses, for example. I don't know what the result is going to be, but that would be something you draw into your analysis or your reflection on your trade. The fact that you could have waited for price to get into this fair value gap before you took your sell. But for the sake of this example, I am just going to take the sell, but this would be like how you'd reflect on your trading. So no fair value gap directly above. So the trade is valid and it's unmitigated. Price hasn't pushed into this order block yet after, the sell was valid. So it is technically valid. We have all 5 confluences, This fair value gap is bugging me, but I am still going to take the trade, and we'll see what happens. Sell from down here. What time is it? 12:30. News drops at 3 o'clock. I'm gonna place the trade, stop loss a bit of pips, and yeah, we'll see what happens. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out. No, it's not the end of the world. Oh, you have to be tagged in to get stopped out. Now, remember this fair value gap I said, sorry, order block I said you could buy off of? It's looking like prices reacting very strongly off of it. I am still interested in the sell over the buy because the daily bias is pointing, bearish. But as we're approaching news, it's Euro news really. I'm not really going to be stressed out by Governor Bailey really speaking, but let's see what happens. I just been tagged in. And yeah, let's see what price decides to do. Okay, if you are somebody that wants to break even or wants to incorporate break evens in the strategy, you need to see price break the low or the move that caused the pullback to, then move to break even. But honestly, I feel like this strategy works best when you don't move to break even or you just don't do anything. But let's see what's going to happen. We could still get stopped out. I'm not going to move to break even. Now, price is back at break even at 12 o'clock. I am just going to leave it for the sake of this trade. But once, price was pushing my entry again towards the night. I don't like holding trades overnight, so I would have closed. But we're going to see what would happen if you could hold it overnight. So I'm not going to close this trade. If it hits our stop loss, then it hits our stop loss. We are going into the next day, so I want to be careful that I don't, overclick. We are still in this entry, but let's see. Okay, we got tagged out for a loss, unfortunately. So this will be -1. So you go and journal this. Ideally, I would have probably closed, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to take it as a loss. But yeah, this would have been a loss, or -1R. So if you took this loss, you could go back and journal it. It was a completely valid trade. There's nothing wrong with a loss like this. You should be happy to take these type of losses because it means that you follow the strategy. But yeah, I'm not really going to dwell on the loss, and we're just going to move on to the next day. Just going to delete all of this. Oof, I've overclicked. Okay, so we start again from the daily. It's a new day. On the daily, what are we anticipating? We are also still looking bearish because price swept the previous day's high but failed to close above it. So we'll be anticipating price pushing these lows here. We go on to the H4. On the H4, this fair value gap is still very present. I am still looking at it. But now price has tapped it, we could, now see our move down. That's really it for the H4. H1, basically still the same thing. We do have the H4 fair value gap and the H1 fair value gap overlapping, which is always a nice thing to see. So if we see price push into this area, we know that's most likely where we're going to see a reversal. Drop down to the M15, nothing major really. Has my session started? Yes, it has. Okay, what are we going to do? We shot straight down off London Open. Price is kind of horrible, I'm not going to lie to you guys. It is kind of, sideways. Price action, it's not really the best, but let's see what's going to happen. If there's actually a potential trade. If, the market looks horrible, you can't find a trade sell, don't take a trade. You don't need to. Okay, cool, let's see. I do believe price could push for this, area on the H4 fair value gap. I know we've tapped the H4 on the 4-hourly, but I feel like we're gonna push into this area, that the overlaps like I spoke about in the previous video, before we actually see our true move down. So I'm not really against the idea of taking a buy in itself. So if I see a potential buy maybe in this area somewhere, this could have been your buy, but I don't really take Orderblocks that formed out of my session, which is between 8 and 1 p.m. A buy right now would not really be a bad idea. And it looks like I can see a buy setup forming right here on the M5. Let me see if it's valid. Quick glance. I think it is valid. So we have right here our liquidity sweep. So if you're not sure which candle I'm looking at, I'm going to mark it out for you guys. This would be my order block. This down candle here. OB. It's called daily OB, but let me just change the thing. M5. M5 OB. So we have our liquidity sweep of all these lows. Or this area. So that would be our LQ sweep. LQ. We have our breaker structure or chalk of this high. This is the only high really required to be broken. I mean, price has broken way more highs, which is also, you know, higher confluence, but this is the main high I need to see broken. The next main high will probably be this high, but I'm not sure if we're going to see that. So we have our chalk. So we have the liquidity sweep chalk. We have multiple fair value gaps. We have 1, 2, 3 fair value gaps. So I'm just going to mark up this one. So we have 3 fair value gaps. That's 3. Is there a fair value gap near our stop loss? No, not really. That's 4. And for the 5th confluence, is it unmitigated? Yet price has not pushed into this order block, you know, before we entered. So this is completely valid. So from here, I can take this order block. Where would I target? Exactly where I felt like price could go. That's if this trade works out. It could be a loser. But I'll put my stops just below the low, aiming for this, wait, where was it? H1, H5 fair value gap overlap. Which would, the H4 fair value gap is this big grey box. I'm going to change the overlap to a different color so you guys can identify the overlap. The overlap will be this red box. So a valid target you could aim for would be this high here. So at the 1 to 4, or this, you know, fair value gap overlap, which I'm going to aim for because that's what I really spoke about. So yeah, from here on the M5, we are completely valid and ready to go. Is there any news? Let me just check. No news, so there's really no reason I don't take this. And yeah, let's go. Let's see. So price push into this fair value gap. We may not get tagged in. It may respect this fair value gap before we push up, but we'll see. Okay, we've been tagged. The next candle reaction was beautiful. I'm going to delete all the stuff that we look for. But yeah, if you want to break even, this would be your area. You know, the high of the move that swept down to the order block. That would be your area for BE. I don't really recommend breaking even, but if you really want to, this would be your BE point. So BE. I'm going to hold the full position and let's see what happens. Okay, that's a nice reaction. So if you BE, you would have broken even by now. And let's just see. Okay, this was a nice clean win. Finally, I show you that the strategy actually works. The market wants to give me my win. And yeah, this was also a nice trade. It's very simple. I was bearish on this day, but I would have loved to see price push into the H4, H1 fair value gap overlap before I see the bearishness. So that's the only reason I, you know, felt like a buy was also valid in this situation. But if not for that fair value gap overlap, or where I really believe price was going to before we saw a reversal, I would not have taken this buy. I would have, you know, kept with my sells. But yeah, that's really it. This was a nice clean trade as well. And I think that was what? Sorry, let me check. 5R? 5.6. Which was a good trade. But yeah. On to the next. It's only Tuesday as well. So, you know, we're up 3% on the account as a whole. This is fake money, guys. Don't be very excited that, you know, your backtesting account is up. It's all about the real account. But yeah, let's see what price actually did once we touch this fair value gap overlap. Because it could burst through it or we could see a reversal. Okay, price shots through it. I believe so. Oh, so, I mean, I could have held the trade longer, but I felt like price was going to reverse here and I was wrong. You have to get comfortable with being wrong with your analysis because it's going to happen. You can't avoid it. But yeah, let's not waste any more time on this day. Go to the next day. Price swept the high, then shot down. Okay, I'm fine with that. I wasn't wrong entirely. I was just wrong about where we reversed. Start again from the daily. Oh, this daily is intriguing because we swept the previous day's low already. But I can't tell. On a day like this, there's really no bias. Honestly, there's no bias. But to really tell if there could be a bias, we go down to the H4, see how price reacted around that previous day's low, which will be this line, PDL. As you can see on the H4, we saw a nice strong wick rejection, which means one of two things. We could either reverse and shoot up and take out these highs, or we could reverse into this. I'm not sure if you guys can spot this yet, but this H4 fair value order block rather. Maybe. Let me change that to H4. I don't know why I have my settings preset on daily H4 order block before we see, you know, price drop down. Now, to really determine, honestly, if you were to take the sell from this area, anticipating price shooting lower, that's valid. If you were to, you know, if you're really thinking price is going to take out these highs, that would also be a very valid, you know, assumption. So both could be technically right, but you just don't know which one. For the H4 fair value gap, I would love to say wait and see if you see a reaction off of that area before you enter for a sell. If you don't, just stick with the buys. If you do, then maybe you cannot look for a sell. But yeah, that's really it. H1, are you telling us anything? Oh, there's also a H1 fair value gap. Order block rather. I don't know why I keep saying fair value gap. A H1 order block. I'm not going to mark up both of them. Actually, I will. I'll mark it up and just make it a different color. Are we feeling, guys? Blue? Yeah, we'll go with blue. Honestly, if I could see a buy up into this area or these highs, I'm okay with it. But if price wants to give me a sell, I am also completely okay with that as well. But yeah, let's see. What time did my session start? 8 o'clock. Let's see what price does in this order block first. Okay, we've completely, not disrespected the H4, but we've pushed into the H1, so I'm just going to focus on that now more. And there's also a fair value gap. Yep. I mean, if you really want to trade this strategy, you know, in the most dynamic way, what you could do is take order blocks that formed in different sessions. So technically, this would be a valid order block for a sell. I have backtested that, and I just really don't, you know, feel like it's necessary for me to take those. I'm fine with sticking to my one session. I know it's profitable. It's passed me loads of funding, so why change it? But if you're somebody that's new and you want to experiment with new things, that also works as well. You can do something like this. But yeah, I want to see what price does around this area. If we see a nice clean hourly rejection off of this order block, I'll be looking for sells. If, you know, the hourly closes very strong into the, I'll say the 0.5 of this order block. 0.5 is just basically halfway through the candle. I have my fib levels drawn already, so I just know where 0.5 is. So if I see price close above this area, I'm not really going to be interested in looking for sells. It's more likely that the order block will be, you know, disrespected. But if price fails to close above this, then, you know, it's a good chance that we're going to respect this order block. But let me see what it decides to do. Okay, we're playing around there, and naturally we're probably going to take these highs out. So this order block is no longer any concern for me. On a day like this, it could just be a runner day where price opens and just doesn't give anyone a chance to enter, depending on how you enter your trades, of course. This is a valid flip zone trade over here, this order block. I need to really change this setting. On the M15, it doesn't really look as clean as a order block that we normally see, but if you drop down to the M5, in this area, you would see this candle down here, or these, you know, series of candles that swept this liquidity would be your order block. But it just looks cleaner on the M15, that's why I take it. It's a bit messy on the M5, but I just know that's how it would look. If price sweeps this high before coming to our entry, you don't really want to take that trade. This high is most likely going to be used to frame a reversal, or we're just going to continue on. But let me see what it does before I waste my time talking about it. Okay, cool. Price looks like it is rejecting down. We saw a nice strong body close above this high, which gives me, you know, more confidence that we're going higher. So I don't think I have a problem taking this order block. Gonna put my entry just above because of spread. What's this, a 1 to 2? Let me see if I can use my fib levels to get a better entry. Draw out the fib levels. 8.8 pips, which means you can either enter on the top of the candle, aiming for a 1 to 2, or you can draw your fib levels and go back to the previous video if this is confusing you, and we enter on the just above the 0.5. I might enter in this fair value gap, even though I'm entering from the order block. It just lines up with a fib level, so it might be my best possible entry. Even at that, I don't really think I'll push a 1 to 3, but this trade is valid, so I'm more than happy to take it. Let's check. So we get an M5 liquidity sweep of these lows. So that's one. Or remember, on flip zones, you only drop down to the M5 to check if the liquidity sweep is there. Everything else should be on the M15. We have our break of structure of these highs. I mean, you have these highs as well. That's even extra. That's 2. Fair value gaps. We have 3. That's 3. 2 fair value gaps even. so that's even better. The fourth one, is there a fair value gap near on stop loss? No, there's not. The fifth one, is it unmitigated? Yes, it is unmitigated. So all 5 confluences are valid. There is no reason why we don't take this trade other than maybe news. What news is this? Retail sales, whatever. It's not really important. But do be wary of it. If price hasn't pushed into your entry by then, you don't want to be in this trade. I'm going to place it and let's see what happens. Oh, straight to stop loss. It happens. Don't get mad. You know, it's not personal. Sometimes the market just framed the reverse, so you have to be comfortable with being wrong. I felt like price was going to respect this order block, but it didn't. On to the next trade. Now, I would like you guys, you know, to go back and analyze both winners and losers. If you lose, go back, see, is there anything I could have done better? If you win, still go back and see, is there anything you could have done better? You could have aimed further. You could have got a better entry. There's loads of stuff you can go back and, you know, reflect on. So this trade lost. Let me try to see if I can find a reason as to why it lost. On the hourly, no. I mean, there was this hourly fair value gap, I believe, maybe. It looks very small. I didn't notice it prior. I'm not really sure if I want to, like, you know, frame that as a reason as why this trade lost. I feel like it was just part of the strategy. Unnecessary. I said unnecessary. Unfortunate loss, rather. And yeah, seems like price may want to push into this fair value gap before we go higher. Or if we go higher, we might just, you know, reverse and go lower. But it is what it is. The trade is done. It was a loser, unfortunately. Now, let's see what price does around this area. I'm not re-entering. I only take 1 trade a day. If you, let's just say you're someone who likes to trade maybe on a lower time frame. So if you use the strategy applied to the M1, M3, you can reduce your risk and take multiple entries. So if you, I risk 1% or 2% of my funded per trade. Now, if you want to, you know, take multiple trades, reduce your risk to like 0.5% a trade or 1% a trade if you're risking on your funded or something. And yeah, you should still be okay. Nothing really happened. Price, it seems like we were just wrong about where price was going to react off of. We came to this hourly fair value gap before we shot up, which is unfortunate, but it happens. That's really it for this day. So go to next day. Yeah, price swept that high and then shot all the way back down. So coming into this day, yet again, we start on the daily. This January has really been tough, but I promise you guys, most months in the market do not look like this. We usually have better months than this, but you know, honestly, go back and test this yourself. You're going to see that you're going to have better months than this on average. Well, once you've learned the strategy, but this is just a tough month. But I'm happy I'm going through a tough month like this with you guys, so you guys know how to navigate a tough month if you come across it on your own. On this day, we're bearish again. You know, price swept the previous days, or multiple highs actually, and failed to close above it. Also swept the low and failed to close below it. So actually, I lied. There is no bias on this day. This would be another tricky day. I mean, if you have no bias, another thing you can do is just go with the overall trend. You know, the trend is your friend till it ends. You don't have to, you know, go against the trend if you don't want to. So if I was to say there was a trend, or if I was to say there was a bias, I would say we should continue bullish because we have been bullish. But if you had continued bullish for these previous 3 days, you would have most likely taken a loss. That's why I bring in the daily bias videos and all of that stuff. But on a day like this, let's just say no bias for the sake of, you know, simplicity. This is a H4 order block. We always want to be conscious of our order blocks and other stuff. So if we see a reaction off of this, it would be nice to continue bullish. Looks like we are seeing a reaction off of this. If price pushes through this, I will be, you know, undoubtedly bearish. There's no reason to really take a buy once price breaks this low. News, not a lot of news. So on the H4, that's really all I'm looking for. There was this fair value gap. It looks like price has pushed through it. That's why it's no longer marked up. We could reject off of this. If we reject off of this, it's a high probability that this order block is going to be disrespected. If we close through it, we're most likely going to see price push for either these highs or maybe an hourly zone if there's one in there. Yep, this fair value gap. So we could see something like that. In terms of what I'm looking for, I would like to see a buy off this fair value gap, but I do want to be very careful. You know, I don't want to be bitten trying to go against the overall trend. So let's just play it forward and see. On a day like this, the best, highest probability trade you see is price coming to sweep, Asian sessions low, and then, you know, reversing, and then we see our buys. But that might not happen. Yeah, this order block is valid, but it formed an Asian session yet again. Asian session order blocks do work, but they're a lot trickier to get your mind around. So if you really want to trade them, you see that they work with your pair, your strategy, or whatever, go back and backtest it, and implement it if you find out it's profitable. In terms of this day, I really don't know. Price has just disrespected this fair value gap. I really don't want to have any play in it. And to be fair, that's before my session. Now my session has started. I want to see price. Not really a lot happened, just sideways, especially on the M15. There's a speech at 10. Let's see what that does to the market. Absolutely nothing. Now price has touched this hourly fair value gap and given us a nice rejection off of it. So I could see price doing something like this, shooting down back into this area before we see a push up, or just completely bursting down through the zone. So those are the two things that are coming into my mind, which means we could take a sell down to this area, then look for buys, or wait for price to get to this area and look for buys if you want to align yourself with the daily bias or like the overall trend of the market, because there's no daily bias. Right now, what direction am I pointing into? I think I'm liking the idea of a sell into this fair order block, but I'm not really seeing an entry. This would have been somewhat of an entry, but price has already moved off from it. Let me see, what time is it? 12. This might be a no trading day, just based off how price is moving. Even if I wanted to take this entry, I don't think I would have been tagged in anyways of this. Looking for that sell. Yeah, it would have just about missed me. So I'm not really bothered about that. This is a nice setup right here. This order block. Let's see if we can get tagged in. Remember all the stuff I have. Please, when you're watching these videos, have it written down beside you. I don't want to really draw up, on every single trade, the 5 stuff we look for. But the liquidity sweep of this high, that's 1. The breaker structure of these lows, that's 2. Is there a fair value? There's a fair value gap right here. Let me change the color of this order block. If it's blue, just know it's an order block. Okay. That's so we had the liquidity sweep, the breaker structure, the fair value gap, this one right here. Unmitigated price. Once price break this line, it was valid. Price hasn't pushed into it, so that's 4. And there is no fair value gap above our stop loss, other than this big H1 fair value gap. But that's kind of far away, so you don't really have to bother about that. So technically, this is a completely valid trade. What's the risk to reward on this looking like? It's looking kind of bleak. The only reason the only time I would expect you to aim deep into the fair order block is if you're expecting it to be disrespected. I do see price disrespecting this order block, but I want to see if I can find a more accurate entry. So we measure the order block, 9.9 pips, draw up our fib levels, try enter from the 0.5. You can choose either the 0.5 or the 0.25. I'm just for the sake of following the rules strictly, I'm just gonna enter from the 0.5. And targets, what would be a good target? The top of this order block, or 1 to 3, what's that looking like? A 1 to 3 is completely fair and reasonable, but the 1 to 5, because of this low, is also reasonable. So let's see what price does before I waste my time. Okay, oh, I forgot to place the entry. Okay, I could be wrong. This could be another loss, but you don't want to be afraid of losing. Losing is a part of learning. You have to lose to learn sometimes. But I'll put it at a 1 to 3, my take profit. But the 1 to 5, if you had decided to take it, would also be valid. And let's play forward and see what price this starts to do. Tagged in, tagged out. Quickest trade of my life. If you're taking a trade like this, you would have been very happy in real life. Got tagged in, just about to the pip, and tagged out, just about to the pip. For 1 to 3.34. So, yeah, as you see, you guys, it's just a method, it's a system. But the hardest part, I'd say, of the system is being dynamic in your thinking. Thinking both in terms of buy and sell. So I told you I would love to see, if the drawing is still here, I'd love to see price push into this order block before we see our buy. So, which means one of two things. You can take a sell to the area you're looking to buy from, or wait for price to get to the area we're going to buy from and buy from there. Those are the two things I'd advise you look for. And in this scenario, you see the sell worked out. So this was another clean trade yet again. And I want to see what price actually ended up doing. I want to see if we took out this H1 low. Let's see. Okay. Did we take it out? See, price came, we would have given you multiple entries. This goes to show that, having an idea and framing, your trades of the day or what you're looking for in the market really, really helps your analysis. Because look, in this trade, I waited or wanted to see price, hit this fair value gap before I'd even entertained the idea of a sell. And price hit it, and I was comfortable taking a sell. If price had not hit this fair value gap, I would have, only been looking for buys. But it's looking like price would have hit that 1 to 5 anyways. Would you have price? What is price playing at? I'm just going to go to next day. Okay, price would not have hit that 1 to 5. It would have just about missed that, which would have been unfortunate. But, that's why sometimes it's best to take the 1 to 3 and not be greedy. But yeah, in terms of this week, on a Thursday, that's really it. This was a more, successful week than the previous weeks we've been having. We took 1 loss and 2 Ws. We got, I think, overall up like 6R, 7R, could be that. But on a week like this, taking on funded, you'd probably pass phase 1 of a funded. This is a good week, especially if you're risking 2%. So yeah, that's really it for this week, guys. If you learned any lessons or, saw any areas that I missed or order blocks that I missed, please let me know down in the comments. But yeah, again, thank you for watching and peace.